Back again with Watchtower Killer today, and today we're gonna do a reaction video. As you can see, the title, Fortnite in the boat, playing Fortnite in the boat. So let me look. Never play Fortnite in the boat. So we're gonna react to that video. Also, like and subscribe. Sorry if I haven't been uploading. It's just because I was thinking of an idea, but I had to do school. School's more important. Also got honor roll, which is cool. But let's go to the video. See you there.
Like and subscribe in the next 5 seconds, or this will be in your closet.
Oh, first, that is freaking scary. First of all, that is, yeah. That is so scary.
Hi, what is up, you guys? You're watching Monument, and I'm Simbo, and today I'm going to show you why you should never play Fortnite on a boat. This is pretty terrifying, so make sure to stay safe and smash that like button, and make sure that you're subscribed for more stories just like this.
Yeah, go subscribe to MonumentHD. So, yeah. He does like a lot of horror stuff, but mostly he does a lot of stuff, so yeah, I'm going to just continue.
Let's get right into it. It all started in the middle of summer when Jeremy and his family were getting ready to go on a cruise, and their family was pretty rich and actually invited a few of their friends as well as their families, so it was basically a private yacht with a bunch of people that he already knew. He was pretty excited to go because he'd never been on a cruise before, let alone a multi-million-dollar yacht. The only problem is that just before they were getting ready to leave, his parents told him that they invited their neighbor's family and their son Billy to come.
Okay, so they bought a yacht, and I think he's gonna bring his PlayStation 4 or anything maybe on mobile. So it's, yeah, so far it's kind of scary because it's starting out like it's like almost a horror movie, pretty much. It's just gonna start to the beginning, and then to the middle, and then to the end. We'll see. Let's continue the video.
This kid had been bullying Jeremy for a long time, and he'd really never told his parents about it because he's afraid they wouldn't care. And once he learned that him and his family were going to be on the boat with him, stuck for over a week and a half, the excitement pretty much faded away.
So pretty much this kid bullies him, Billy, and that's a sucky part. And I know how it feels sometimes. You just get bullied. Never be a bully. Always respect. Okay, let's continue.
Entirely. He began to plan things that he could do while he was on the boat because now he wasn't sure he'd like to hang out with everyone if that kid was going to be there. So he packed a few things and made sure his Fortnite was updated before they left for the airport to go to the yacht. Leaving the driveway, he looked out his window and saw the neighbor kid standing there with what looked like a knife in his hand, just waving at him in the car. He looked...
Okay, okay, let's be honest. That is freaking scary. Okay, that is scary, bro. Oh, God.
Harder and realized it was just some gardening scissors, and he must have just been waving to pretend to be nice. Already, excitement for the trip was gone, and it was pretty freaky that his first thought was that the kid was holding a knife, but it wouldn't have surprised him if he was. The kid is a total jerk. So they got to the airport, and his parents mentioned to him that they were going to be arriving one day before everyone else so that they could talk to the captain and crew and make sure everything was going to be set up how they wanted it. His parents had been planning this for a while, and even though they were really wealthy, this isn't something that they've ever done before, and so they wanted it to go well. They landed and are Ubered to the boat. Once they arrived, they were greeted by the captain, the head chef, and the remainder of the crew that was scattered about the boat, preparing it to set off for the week. They were led to the helm of the ship where the master suite is, which is where his parents would be staying. And then he was directed to a room with double berths and asked his mom why there were 2 beds in there and if he'd have to share it with someone. He prayed his mom didn't say he would share it with the neighbor kid, but just as he feared, she said, "I know it might be a little weird, but you have to share this room with Billy."
Okay, first of all, he bullies him and he has to share a bed. That's kind of messed up. That's a messed up mom. Let's be honest. But let's continue the video.
Begged his mom that he didn't want to share this room with Billy and that he'd share a room with anyone else, but apparently Billy was the only boy his age that was going to be on the trip, so it only made sense that they'd share a room. He just sat in his room, sulking, as his parents talked to the crew, and later that night, they asked him to come eat dinner, but he refused and just stayed in his room. Then, After everyone had pretty much just gone to bed, he was obviously starving and wanted to go and see if there were any leftovers he could grab really fast and just go back to his room where he could keep playing Fortnite. Now, keep in mind that there still was no one on the boat except for the crew and his parents, so it should be pretty easy to just sneak past all the rooms and go grab some food. As he opens his door, he sees his parents' light is turned off, and so he starts down the hallway. The way the boat is set up is there is a common area in between the bedrooms that the guests stay in and the crew quarters, so he wouldn't even have to pass all the crew to get to the common room. But as he got closer to the common area where the food was, he could hear someone in there talking. It sounded like the captain from earlier, but he could barely make out what they were saying. He got a little closer and he still didn't see anyone in the room, but he heard people talking as if they were in this room, sitting at the table that he was standing next to. Confused, he must have thought that there was just an air vent where he could hear them through, and he began looking for food. He noticed on the counter a few dishes that had been left to be cleaned later that night, and they did have some food left over, so he went and snagged a few things that weren't touched yet, and as he was making his way back to the room, he looked back over to the table, and 3 members of the crew, including the captain, were sitting at the table where there was just no one a moment ago, and they were all just sitting there, staring at him.
Okay, that is scary. So pretty much the captain and the rest of the crew are just staring at him with this, and he's like, "Bro, stay away from me, bro." So yeah, that is so scary. Okay, let's continue.
He froze and they continued to just look at him, but it was almost like they weren't even really looking at him, kind of through him. He said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I was just getting some food. I'm gonna go back to my room now." And then there was nothing. They didn't say a single word. Scared, he started walking back towards the room, and then the talking continued. As he rushes to open the door, he gets it open and looks back at the table, which he can see down the hallway, and there wasn't anyone at the table anymore, where the crew was just moments ago. He slammed his door and rushed back to his bed and was so scared he couldn't really even eat any of the food he had just grabbed. He took a few bites and basically just threw the rest in the trash can and went to bed. But he was woken up to the sound of people boarding the ship, and it was pretty early in the morning, but they had a fairly long trip ahead, so it made sense that they'd get going as early as possible. Then he heard talking coming down the hallway, and his heart sank. It was Billy. Billy burst through the door and screamed, "What's up, buddy? Long time no see, huh?" He didn't bother responding with much except for a sup. Luckily, it seemed like Billy was in a pretty good mood, so maybe he wouldn't have to worry too much about being picked on. And Billy got his things unpacked and left to go up to the top deck to see what his parents were up to, and this was a big relief because he definitely wanted to get more sleep. As he was just about to fall back asleep, his parents came in and told him to get up because it was time for breakfast, and they all wanted to have a crew meeting on the top deck so everyone knew the basic ground rules of being on the ship. They all got together and were eating breakfast, which was pretty good, and
So pretty much it's in the middle, guys. It's in the middle. Pretty much in the middle. So so the beginning is kind of scary, but when it comes like to the big middle, it's not that scary. Pretty much it's the first day, as I can assume, and pretty much they're there, and yeah, it's so far so good, but still it's freaking scary.
Captain, which he had just seen the night before, got up and welcomed everyone, and started explaining the rules for being on the boat and what to expect on their trip. It was all pretty boring, and he basically ignored most of what the captain was saying until he heard the captain say, "And oh, the boat is haunted, so make sure if you see something weird, you let me know." Everyone just started laughing, except for Jeremy. Billy looked over and noticed he wasn't laughing and asked him, "What, afraid of ghosts or something?" And Jeremy didn't respond. And for the rest of the day, that was all he could think of is what the captain said. Later, it's the first night on the boat having to sleep in the same room as Billy, so he already wasn't excited for what was going to happen, but he had no idea that it was going to be so much worse than he thought.
Okay, so he pretty much is in the boat, and he's scared of his life because what he saw, because like as you see is what he said is he saw the crew and the captain was staring at him. Now, what the captain said is that it was haunted. So it could have been really not them. Or maybe he's just trolling, but we don't know. Let's see.
It's all pretty normal, and Jeremy starts just playing Fortnite on his phone under the covers in hopes that Billy just thinks he's asleep. But then he felt something tugging on the covers at the bottom of the bed. Annoyed, he tried to ignore it, but Billy must have been trying to freak him out, and he just kept tugging at the bottom cover. He eventually got annoyed and pulled the cover off of his face and immediately noticed that Billy was actually still hanging out in his bed on his phone. Billy said, "Hey man, do you want to go get some food? I didn't eat much at dinner and I think we should totally go raid the cabinet." But Jeremy didn't respond because if Billy was still in his bed, then what the heck was pulling on his covers? He eventually told Billy, "No thanks, I think I'm just gonna go back to bed." "No, for real man, let's go get us some food, I'm starving." And just as he said that, all of Jeremy's covers were ripped off and pulled to what he thought was just underneath the bed. Billy was freaked out and said, "Dude, how did you do that? What the heck?" And Jeremy backed up to the corner of his bed, shaking, not knowing what to do. Billy realized it wasn't Jeremy that caused that and was pretty scared at this point too. Just as he was going to say something, they heard a subtle knock at the door. Neither of them responded or said anything. They just looked at each other, wondering.
Okay. So it's like the middle is like almost gonna be almost the end, and so far it's scary. They can hear something, and pretty much Billy said, "Did you pull the covers?" And he said no. So this is the scary part. We don't know if this is true, but it could be.
What that was. The subtle knocking turned into a loud banging, and eventually the door flew open, and it was the ship's captain just standing there. He entered the room, looked at both boys and didn't say a word. He kept looking back and forth at either one of them. Then you could hear from the other room people calling the captain's name. He began to look annoyed, and both Jeremy and Billy were just sitting in their beds back up against the wall, terrified of what was going on. And then, as suddenly as he had entered the room, he was gone. Both Billy and Jeremy looked at each other, shocked, and wondered what the heck was going on. Jeremy started to crawl to the bottom of his bed to get his blanket back from the ground, and Billy...
Okay, put the comments below if you guys are scared. I don't know if this is scary or not, but I tried to. Okay, I don't know if it scares you or not, but it's God. Oh God, I'm having a heart attack. Oh God, I'm gonna die.
He was just still sitting there in the corner, terrified. Then they heard their names being called from the other room. They wondered why no one else seemed to hear what was going on, and both still just sat there terrified. They could hear their names be called again, and then once more, and then there was nothing. Jeremy woke up to the sound of his parents talking in the hallway, and they sounded pretty concerned. He looked over and Billy was gone, so he rushed into the hallway and asked what was going on. And they said, "Billy is missing." Confused, Jeremy remembers still seeing him in the room last night before he must have passed out from fear. And they asked him if he knows where Billy is or what was going on, and then Jeremy told them everything that he saw, and everyone just kind of stopped. They asked the crew if they knew where the captain was, and they said he was on the top deck earlier this morning, not responding to anyone. They all rushed up there, and they immediately saw Billy and the captain just sitting there. They both looked terrified, like if they had just seen a ghost. After they get them calmed down, they asked what the heck happened, and Billy explained exactly what Jeremy did as well. And then they asked the captain, and all he said was, "I told you the ship was haunted, didn't I?" No one understood what he meant until they got home. And they looked into the captain a bit further. The parents, when they realized who he really was, were horrified, and they didn't want to tell Jeremy what it was, and that caused him to look it up himself. When he searched the name of the captain, he found that 13 years ago, a very similar scenario happened where he was the captain of the ship, and two members of one of the families had gone missing for the duration of the trip, and the captain was suspected to have been the reason for their disappearance. And in the end, Jeremy had decided that he'd never take another private cruise again.
Okay, that is so scary. Also, go subscribe to Simbo and MonumentHD, and also Gumbo, because they have really scary stories. Okay, guys, and let's see how long the video was. 14, pretty good. Okay, like and subscribe, and I'll see you there. Hoo-ah.